Hello, students. This is a video about literature reviews. We are going to start talking about them this week, and I want to put into some context why we are talking about them. Whether or not you are choosing to write a literature review or some other sort of document, I definitely want you to have a handle on what literature reviews are and how they function within the overall field of scientific research. They tend to be important documents that help researchers sort of take stock of what they have accomplished and what things still haven't been accomplished or what questions remain unanswered. I'm going to show a demonstration of my decidedly mediocre animation skills. This is something I often write on the board. I someday may learn how to animate, but I'm not there yet. So this is the best I can do. So we've got an arrow of time going this way. Let's say that we're looking at 30 years or so of time. And over the course of those 30 years, many articles are going to come out involving a certain area of research, like maybe DNA manipulation or the effects of pesticides on wild insect populations, or I don't know, treatments for cancer, what have you, right? And I'm going to draw a few more little circles. And when I'm drawing a little circle here, what I'm saying by drawing the circle is that that circle is an article that is relevant for that field of study. And, as time goes on, we get more of these, they proliferate. I think Science had a figure a few years ago that like every 35 seconds, there's a new peer-reviewed article published in the Sciences, just this wave of information coming at us. Now, some of these little dots, I'm purposely trying to make small, right? If we're looking at like the body of scientific research, like let's say all of these are meant to represent peer-reviewed articles that have come out in, say, the past 30 years. Some of them I'm going to make big. And when I'm making them big, I'm saying that particular article, like this circle, oh, I didn't mean to draw that one, but we'll just stick with this one right here. This circle right here, it garnered a certain amount of attention. And there is actually a metric by which we can judge this. It's not just subjective. Databases will track how many citations an article receives. So let's say that this article is like maybe 5 years old and it's already got like 150 citations. Let's say that this article is like 7 years old and it has like 4 citations. This would probably be the sort of article that a literature review would want to focus on. It's not to say that all the little dots, in other words, all the little nodes of information along this overall path of research are bad. Some of them might be perfectly legitimate science, but they're not necessarily going to be groundbreaking in the way that, say, this great big dot here was groundbreaking. So I mean, this big dot would represent an article from, say, 15 years ago that has 500 citations. It made an impact, in other words, and that's actually the phrase that gets used, like the impact factor that a journal has is like a metric of how many citations its articles garner. If you are looking at a lit review, the job of a person writing a lit review is to take all of this information and to synthesize it. So I'm trying to make like an encompassing thing. So the person writing a lit review is going to scan all of this information, consider which dots or which articles along the way made the greater impact, and then we'll synthesize that into its own new original document. I know this is not, stunning animation, but I do feel like the graphic kind of represents what lit reviews do. They're meant to like look at a large body of research from the past and then to synthesize it into a new document. That new document that they synthesize should kind of say, here's what we know, here's where the research currently stands, here are things we have not yet accomplished, things that we have not yet done. That's the goal of a lit review. And they do tend to be important documents. They have a really important mechanism of helping researchers establish direction, like of helping the scientific community figuring out like what it needs to do next or what remains unanswered. Even if you're not writing a literature review, they can be really important documents for you to figure out what the research says right now. You'll find that a lot of these individual, particular articles might be very narrowly focused on some specific question, right? These are all meant to represent primary research documents or primary research articles. And many of them are super narrow in their focus and scope. Like the researchers are trying to test a hypothesis, and you as a researcher or just a person, maybe not even a researcher, just a person who wants to learn more about a given area of science, you can turn to a lit review and find much more overview and broad perspective. They're not focused on like a single tiny hypothesis and testing it. Instead, they're trying to say, here's the bigger landscape. And that can be valuable, even if you do not wish to write a literature review for the upcoming research project. You are still going to be asked to find one. And I ask you to find one specifically because it's a helpful starting point for research. If you find something that gives you a nice overview where the field is, that can often lead you to additional sources, and it can kind of help you set context more effectively than just looking at like individual research articles, which again are often, technical and narrowly focused.